Welcome to the BA Coaches Show, where we talk all things Nebraska sports all the time. Interviews, breakdowns, rants, and more. Expect it all from the Nebraska diehard, Coach Ben Audi. Make sure you click the like, subscribe, or follow button and enjoy this conversation about our beloved Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Welcome, everybody, to the BA Coaches Show. We got ourselves a fun episode today. This is going to be our little mid-season review. It's going to be a little bit of a different episode today that we've done since the season started. We're not going to have any film breakdown today. We're going to talk the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great of Nebraska football. And to wrap up this episode, we are going to have a 15-minute little interview with the legend himself, Adam CARRIKER. You guys all know who he is. But before we get into anything today, make sure you click the like on this video. Follow, subscribe to the YouTube page. Follow us on all social media platforms at the BA Coaches Show. So, we're going to get into this thing today because we got a good football team to talk about here. Let's be real. So something that I've done in the past as a coach is I've looked at, so like after each game or after like mid-season or after the season, you go through and like for a game, I'd go break down every play into 4 individual categories, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, and the great. And at the end of the season, or at the mid-season, whatever you want to do, but at the end of the season, you can then break it down to what stats or what did we do good, what was bad about this team, what was ugly, and what was great, right? Pretty simple concept. I decided to make that into, I'm going to try and do that for Husker football right now in our mid-season recap. So we got the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great that we're going to talk about, right? And before we get into some of that, I kind of want to say that like anything that I say here is like bad or ugly. I want to like just come out and say that I really like this football team. This is a good Nebraska football team. I am all in on this Nebraska football team. I want that to be 100% clear. I'm riding with these guys. I might be the biggest Matt Rule fan in the entire world, and I'm rocking with that boy, and I trust him with all of my heart. And there are some things that I think that we need to improve on, but I want to say, before we get into good, bad, ugly, all that, I got a video I want to play for you guys, okay? Because this is something that Matt Rule has said before, and I just want it to get to you. So, my boy Matt McChesney, I really like Matt. I've never been able to like meet him, but I've been a fan of him for a while now. He does great things with his 6-0 Academy over in Colorado. He runs a 0 to 60 podcast, and they do a lot of Colorado stuff over there. I believe they do Colorado shows on like Tuesdays and Thursdays and whatnot, or something like that. But they do a lot of Colorado content, is what I'm trying to say. So I know that obviously a lot of my fan base isn't listening to them since this is really a Nebraska show, right? But I listen to some of Matt's stuff. I don't always listen to the full shows just because I'm not a Colorado fan. But I do. I thoroughly enjoy Matt's content, Matt McChesney. So I check out his stuff, and whenever I see clips of his on YouTube or whatever, I'll click on them, and I enjoy him. I actually have a lot of quotes in my little not coaching book, but like I just have things I like write down quotes and figure out how to incorporate things into my life and coaching and doing all that and how I can incorporate that into future programs and whatnot. And I have like 5, 6, 7 quotes that come straight from Matt McChesney. And this was a really good one. So I know you guys don't listen to his show, but I want to play this clip for you because I think I know he's talking about Colorado. So don't just tune this out because it's Colorado. This is a good conversation for anybody. This goes to any team. This goes to high school teams. Shoot, you can even make this to middle school or youth teams, I guess. Like, this is important. This, I think, correlates directly to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So let me play it for you because I think he did a great job here.
And they played with heart. Now they need to fucking learn how to finish.
Yeah, facts.
And you only learn how to finish by what? By failing. You only learn how to fucking do it by going through it. And they're going through it right now. And good. That's good. What the fuck are you going to learn about this? What are you going to learn from this?
Yeah, what do you take away? This is the title of the show is Colorado Must Learn.
That goes to everyone. What do you learn from the situation you find yourself in at the moment?
I like I said, I think that was brilliantly said, and I can't again take Colorado out of it. That's not my point. Just think about what he said, and that's something that this Nebraska team has learned to do. Guess what? Last year, how many one-score games did they lose? A lot, right? They crumbled a few times, obviously, especially towards that last half of the season. And then you look at the Illinois game this year. That game got tight, and our players got super tight. But what have they done their last 2 games? What have they done? They learned from it. They learned from it. I know that Purdue and Rutgers, I think Rutgers is a decent football team, but I know Purdue's not a very good football team, but guess what? Past year's teams would have found ways to lose that game. I think a month ago, before we play Illinois, maybe we find a way to lose that game when it's 0-0. We go down 3-0 in the ugliest football game I've ever seen. But this team finds ways to win. So shout out to Matt McChesney. I say go follow him, but I know you guys probably won't because he's a Colorado fan. Or not. He's not even a fan. That's the thing. He's not a fan. So when people hate on him, he is a Colorado legend. I apologize to Matt for saying fan. He's not a Colorado fan. He is a alum. He gives back to that university more than anybody. So although I hate Colorado, I respect the shit out of Matt and everything that Matt does with his 6-0 Academy. It is that's like on my bucket list of places I want to go spend a morning. I want to go spend a morning in the dungeon, just watching him do his work because he does really good stuff and he puts out some of the best players in the country right there. So now diving back into Husker football, okay. I had a recent appearance on the Husker Army podcast. Love those guys. Love Matt, Brian, and Kenny. And we had a good little talk about something I kind of want to see going forward in the offense. And I'll explain more, but I want to play this video for you guys because I want to see more play action because we've done a good job throwing the ball, but I want to see more of it. So let me play this short little video for you. I just kind of think of it as like if we look at like how well that like we've ran like our dagger concept or like our Y crosses this year, like those have looked pretty good. Now imagine if we did play action off of that and we got those linebackers to just take 1 or 2 steps forward, make it
exactly.
That we're already getting, but like we'd be talking a whole nother ball game if we get them going. That's the thing.
Exactly.
That's just the things I look at. I'm like, hey, we've ran this dagger concept really well this year. We ran it pretty well against Purdue. Imagine if we just did play action off of it.
Yeah.
And just get that Mike to just take 1 step forward. I mean, you guys all know, like in major college football, like just taking 1 step is like
that's huge.
It changes the whole game.
Yeah, huge.
Those are the things that when I do my film breakdowns, I point that out a lot. I'm like, watch this linebacker. He just took 1 step forward. Play just got open.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or I'll point out like, hey, see this corner right here? He took 1 step trying to cross his face. He just got burnt.
Yeah, or you cross his hips the wrong way and you're wide open.
Like, look when the separation happens. It happens right here.
But see, that's the stuff, BA, that people don't pay attention to. This is where I tell them football is so technical. It's the most minute things that can change the way a play looks and what happens. If you go back to the Illinois game, if you guys watch it, go back and watch it on TV. There was a play where they ran the ball, and I forgot which linebacker of ours was there. He took a false step to the right and then paused, and they end up getting the first down they shouldn't have got, running it to their left. And I was sitting there, I said, dude, what? He didn't even move. But it was a false step, and then he didn't move. It's like his reaction was there. So there's a reason there's play action. There's a reason they look off. Yes. There's a reason certain things do this. These are things people just think, oh, he just ran straight and caught that post. Or he just ran right through that gap and did that. There's a reason the lineman touches the man before he gets off on his man on the pass block. It's to let this one come up a little bit to assist this one for a minute to do it. There's a lot of little technical things in there. Like Dave said, we get them to step up. Now you have to recoup from that step you just took. See that's football stuff. That stuff.
Yeah.
Really.
So yeah. Oh, hold on. Way zoomed in. There we go. We gotta get off. No one wants to see this ugly mug that zoomed in. Yeah, but like I said, like those are some things I want to see more of, and let's just dive into this good, bad, ugly, great. Just to get fully into it. So as you guys know, this Indiana game is just a few days away, right? And I took some time during, the last bye week to like reflect on it and kind of what we think. Because we are looking at a really good football team, a 5-1 football team. A win is a win. You play who you play. And I think they've done pretty good. But as a football coach, like I said, I've used this little system here to evaluate. So starting with the good, my good, Dylan Raiola, man. This kid has not just met expectation. He has exceeded them, even though those expectations were through the freaking roof, right? I mentioned this before the season started, but and I mentioned it all throughout. Like, what sets him apart to me is not his just physical talent. It is his understanding of the game, the ability to read coverages. Dylan's mental capacity for football is shown all the time. So typically, so you guys know, just do this with high school quarterbacks, typically young freshman quarterbacks, true freshman quarterbacks and experienced quarterbacks, you're going to rely on a lot of motion, right, to help identify defensive coverages and whatnot. It's very common for, young players. What Nebraska has done is they haven't really needed to do that because of how smart and how Dylan's ability to read the coverage pre and post snap has been outstanding. So we're not having to utilize all that motion. Now, Nebraska is still motioning. I don't want that to get that twisted, but they're not doing it any more than what they did last year or any more. They're doing it probably average or below average most teams, especially teams with a young quarterback. Like, that's the point I want to get through your guys' head. He's a young freshman quarterback able to do this. He's developing crazy. I know he had a rough game against Rutgers, but man, that was a well-coached team, and he needed that game. Now we have things on tape that he needs to go improve on. I think it'll be good to see some of the things that Rutgers did to slip him up a little bit. So I feel fully confident in this team. The bad. Okay, we've talked about the bad before. I have to say it. This is not intended as a big, crapping on Marcus Satterfield. I really do believe he's, called some fantastic games this year. But I got to say one area needing improvement, a lack of our identity, offensive identity. Are we a run first team? I don't know. I feel like we sometimes try to be, but we can't run the football inside very well. And I say in football, whether it's the NFL, whether it's college, whether it's high school, whether it's freaking fifth grade football, right? You got to have some core concepts that a team can rely on during tough times. When things aren't going your way, what is your bread and butter? It's the backbone of every offense. Through these 6 games this year, I do not know what that is. After the first 2 or 3 games, I would have said it was power, it was counter. I don't know what that is right now. And I think through self-scouting and this adjustments, and we need to, no matter what happens through these next 6 games, I want to see what is our offensive identity. I thoroughly believe we can figure it out. I don't think that's a lost cause. We got to figure out what that is, because I don't know. And I think in major college football, we're 6 games in, dog. We're 6 games in. We got to figure it out. I know a lot of teams across the country. I am weird. I like to listen to other teams, like some podcasts from other teams, just because, I don't know, I like the hosts or whatnot. And a lot of teams are kind of having similar conversations, but man, we just got to be able to figure that out, because that has been the disappointing part for me. The ugly. I don't know how we get into this. We've been talking about this for like a month. Special teams. I have no words, just like I was. It's been obviously really bad, guys. The missed and blocked field goals are one thing, right? They're frustrating. But and I know it's a coaching thing, but at the same time, it's like the players have to be able to snap the ball, the snap to hold the kick operation, right? That's relies heavily on the execution. Yes, I understand coaching plays a part of that, but it's like bring a different coach in there. If they're not going to snap the ball right, what are you going to do? And it's been very frustrating. I get it. I've been saying, I have seen high school teams that have 300 kids in their entire high school in Kansas make 52-yard field goals this last week. And Nebraska ain't doing that shit right now. You know what I mean? But that's not even what fully bothers me with the special teams, if you want the truth. Yeah, it's bothersome, but that's not what really gets me. What really gets me is the lack of situational awareness, the not being knowledgeable about what's going on the field. We've had an instance where we have the hands team on and nobody blocking for a return. Instead of fair catching the ball, we try and return it. We don't have any blocking. You got to know that before you go on the field. We take delay a game and then we get a punt blocked. I don't understand how we have the fact that we won that game is insane. Having 2 punts blocked in one game, the odds of you winning that game, I'd say, are less than 5%. I have to look at the numbers, but I know when you block 1 punt, the number's way down. If you win 2, it's dang near impossible. We somehow won that game. Okay. We have gunners running through the back of the end zone instead of downing the ball. That cannot happen. I will be real. I am going to look at this camera right now and say something. That is unacceptable at a high school level. If we were coaching high schoolers out there, that's unacceptable. Just going to say it. Unacceptable. We got to figure it out. It's bad, guys. It is as bad as I've ever seen. It's gotten real bad. I do think these issues can be addressed this season even. I don't think we're going to end up with good special teams, but we can't be atrocious at special teams. We just got to get better. We've got to be okay. We're okay at special teams. We're going to be just fine. But enough about the negative. What is the great? I think this undoubtedly goes to the black shirt defense. Yes, the Illinois game was terrible. It looked real bad. But they've made adjustments. Their zone coverage pass-offs look a lot cleaner. Their studying before the game, before this Rutgers game, was insane. I've said they were playing on an instinctual level. They were going out of their mind. They were playing out of their mind. That game, that goal line stand, to me, is what when I think of, because he's going to leave, maybe not, he's going to leave at some point. Tony White, when I think of defensive coordinator Tony White at Nebraska, I'm going to think of that goal line stand. It gives me goosebumps, man, just thinking about that. It showcased heart. It showcased determination. It showcased their ability to study film. They read that offense like a book. We did the film breakdown last episode. They read that thing like a book. And the way that they've bounced back, you play who you play. I know Purdue wasn't good. They did their job. They did their job, man. It's clear that all this studying has paid off. They're playing with an instinctual. They're playing at an instinctual level right now. They're reacting good. Their chemistry within this entire unit. When I say the black shirts, I don't necessarily just mean the guy wearing the black shirts. I'm talking everyone on the defensive unit right now. They're playing out of their mind. Playing out of their mind. So that's my good, bad, ugly, great. I think at the end of the season, we're going to do good, bad, ugly, great, a film breakdown if you guys like that. Because that's just something I believe in. It's something I've done as a coach. So I kind of want to incorporate that in. Good, bad, ugly, great. So before we wrap up this episode, I've got a few minutes with an amazing, amazing person. You guys all know him, Adam CARRIKER. I want to, you guys all know you can find my show on CARRIKERchronicles.com. But let's welcome him in. You guys all know he's got the Adam CARRIKER show. And yeah, we're going to sit here and talk Husker football. So yeah, I think you guys will enjoy this one. Joining me on the BA Coaches Show today, I got a Nebraska Cornhusker legend. You guys all know him, Adam CARRIKER. Adam, how are you doing today?
Dude, I'm glorious. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And before we get in this, I just want to say thank you for joining the BA Coaches Show here for a few minutes. I know you're a really busy guy, so I appreciate you making time for me.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime, man.
So obviously we're a couple days out from the Indiana game, and we just made it, kind of through the bye week here. I think this bye week's at a really good time because we're right at the midway point in the season. So right as we're made it through 6 games, I've kind of looked at, there's been a lot of good, obviously. We're a 5-1 team. What has been kind of your highlight or like your bright moment in this Nebraska team this year?
I think the bright moment is the young quarterback and how he's playing. There's a lot of guys who come into college or even pro sports, incredibly talented. The sky ain't even the limit. The freaking stars are the limit. And they got all this ability, and sometimes it does or doesn't work out. And sometimes a guy plays early, and you never know how that's going to go. So he has as high a ceiling as anybody on the team. But, being a true freshman, 19, teenage-year-old quarterback, you didn't know what you were really going to get. And he's probably been the most consistent thing about our offense this year. There's been times when we've had different receivers step up, and a tight end has shown a flash, and different running backs here and there, and the offensive line's been up and down. And I know his Rutgers game happened to be his least effective game of the year because, he is learning and he is human. Mm-hmm. But he's probably been our most consistent player. I think back to that Illinois game, and I remember thinking, how are we going to win this game? We can't trust the defense right now, not in that game. Mm-hmm. I was like, can't trust the run game, can't trust the special teams. Like, it was Dylan. He was really the only hope that we had in the second half of that game. And I know it didn't work out the way we wanted, but I think Husker fans have to be very, very happy with Dylan's play so far.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. I've done like kind of how I've done with like film breakdown with some of my teams in the past has been like good, bad, ugly, great. Dylan has been my good and great. Like, he has played outstanding. So I'm 100% with you on that. So although this team is 5-1, I think there are a couple aspects that are a little bit concerning in terms of, I guess, as we play some of these better teams, right? I think we have a really good football team, but as with every football team, you're never going to have anything, perfect. If there's one area of concern you have through the next 6 weeks, what would that area of concern be for you?
Well, yeah, there's obvious areas that need to be addressed. Running the ball better on offense, special teams, pretty much anything that doesn't involve Brian Buschini is a concern.
Yeah.
And defensively, I'm actually really proud. At this point last year, or even at the end of the year, their stats were better than they are now. Most of that is due to the second half of Illinois, and even at times not being able to get off the field versus Northern Iowa when you would have liked. But the way they bounced back spoke more to me than anything, how the defense responded to how that game went early on. And, Ty Robinson even said they were embarrassed. But, how they responded means more to me than anything else. So, but the only real question I have about the secondary or the defense is the secondary. Like, I haven't forgotten what happened in that Illinois game and some wide receivers just running wide open for Illinois for some reason. So for me, the defense is the absolute strength of this team. I'm insanely proud of them. And we got 3 really good cornerbacks now, as long as Tommy Hill is able to go. And we're going to need them all versus Indiana, the number 1 pass offense in the Big Ten. But special teams as a whole, outside of Brian Buschini, and then running the ball on offense better. So.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think, I don't know, we could spend all day on special teams, so I don't want to dive down that rabbit hole right now. I think enough's been said by everybody on that. I think offensively, what has been my, I guess, not even area of concern, is just I'm still, maybe you can disagree, but something I've been trying to figure out is what is our offensive identity, if that makes any sense. Like, when things aren't going well, and you're going to have games where, hey, you're going up against the well-coached team, it's what is our bread and butter that we're going to get back to? And I feel like we've had a hard time figuring that out, if that makes sense. I think we saw that in the second half of the Rutgers game, especially, of just, hey, we're going against a really good Schiano team. And we just can't, like, I don't know sometimes, like, are we a run first team because we're not running the ball that effectively? Are we just going to give the ball to 15 and let him make a play? Because sometimes we're not doing that either. We're trying to run the football. So as we go through the next 6 weeks, and what do you think, if we're going to try and find an offensive identity, what do you think that could end up entailing?
I'm 100% with you. I don't know what we are on offense. And I think right now, what I see anyways, is we have a head coach that wants to run the ball, be a physical team, be a physical offense, but we have an offensive coordinator who wants to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, going into the bye week, we were running the ball 52% of the time, throwing it 48%. So one could argue, oh, we're a balanced offense. No, I just don't think we know what we are. And I think those are two very different things. And even within our run game, if you remember back to UTEP, we came right out the gate, running dive, running power. And every once in a while, like 4th and goal at the 1 at Purdue, we went full back and we went power. And there's been a couple of 4th downs that we've gone for. All of a sudden it's power. But then the rest of the time it's these, and the sweeps work, but they work when they're close to the opponent's end zone and inside the red zone, inside the 20. But out in the field, they haven't actually. If people think about the sweeps that don't result in touchdowns close to the end zone out to the field, they actually don't have a high succession rate, even though Ja'Cory Barney is averaging 14.9 yards per carry. But for me, it's like, are we an outside running team? Are we a power running team? Are we a zone running team? Even our passing identity, it's kind of like we do all these swing passes and short passes to the side where you're hoping to get blocking and catch it at the line of scrimmage and then get 10 to 12 yards. But those haven't exactly had a high success rate, because if it doesn't work, you're tackled for -2. And now all of a sudden it's 2nd and 12 in a obvious passing situation. And then if you have an incompletion, now it's 3rd and 12, and nobody's going to have a high success rate at that. So offensively, I'm like, man, who are we? What are we? Do the coaches know what we are? I think Satterfield's happy to be able to throw the ball this year. And I think sometimes, I don't want to say he gets too excited about that, but it's like, that's really who I think he is. And I think there's a little bit of inner identity crisis, so to speak. As far as what I'd like our identity to be, I would like it to be physical.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be physical. And most people are going to be like, oh, that means being able to run the football. Yes and no. Right now, we don't even have YAC. We don't even have yards after contact when our pass catchers catch the ball out in space. When's the last time you saw a receiver or a tight end catch the ball and then break a tackle and run for 20 yards? Like, that's what Indiana does all the time. We just need to be more physical, whether it's the running backs or the offensive line getting pushed or the receivers out in space. You watch Indiana, man, their top 2 receivers are averaging 18 and 21 yards per catch, respectively. We don't have anybody averaging that. So, and that's not a shot at the receivers. I just want to be more physical as an offense in every aspect, regardless of what we're doing.
No, I 100% agree with you there. And just listening to how Matt Rule has talked during this bye week, I think he's agreeing with you on that 100%. So as we get into these next 6 games, our last 6 games of the regular season, obviously we're hoping there's a bowl game here at the end of the year. What do you expect over the next 6 games? And is there a win total that we would get to that would be disappointing to you, if that makes sense? Like, I think at this point we're 5-1. If we only end up winning 6, I'm going to be severely disappointed. So is there a win? Is that number 8? Is it 9? Like, what's your number through these next 6 weeks that you think you might be a little bit disappointed?
Well, to answer your first question, what do I expect? I expect the unexpected. I expect us to probably beat a team when we're an underdog, and I expect us to probably lose a game when we're the favored team. And you look at Wisconsin and USC and Iowa, all 3 of those games are winnable. They're all 3 losable. Same with Indiana.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, every team is that way. And, every team is that way. Look at it, Alabama versus Vandy, but we're going to be a big favorite versus UCLA. We're going to be a big dog to Ohio State. And I look at the other 4 games aside from those, and we could go 2-2, 3-1, 4-0, and 4 in all of them.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of expecting the unexpected. I'm just hoping people ride through the whole process of the whole season. I had Brett Ciencia pick 6 previews on during the bye week. He had us 6-4 after 10 games. And then he had us 8-4 because he has us beating Iowa and Wisconsin at the end of the year. So I hope if we're sitting here 5-3 in 2 weeks or 6-4 in a month, Husker fans don't go anywhere. As far as a disappointing win total, I think I'm kind of with you. I think 6 wins or 5 obviously would mean we lose every game the rest of the year. That wouldn't be good. 6 wins, I think, would be disappointing at this point. I think 8-4 is what I've been saying since last March, and I keep trying to update/change my prediction. Half the reason is it's just good for the show, and every time I run through it, I just keep ending up at 8-4. So I never change my prediction. If we got to 7-5, I'd be fine with that. That does mean we go 2-4. It means we go 2-4 to end the year. So
I get you on that.
Yeah, it might depend on when those 2 wins come. But if you look back at the season as a whole after 12 games, and we've got 7 wins, we haven't had that many wins in almost a decade. So I think anything less than 7 wins, I think 8 or above, I think Husker fans would be pretty ecstatic.
Oh, I'm 100% with you. My preseason prediction was 7-5. So, and that was just trying to be realistic and not have too high expectations. So I'd be perfectly fine with 8. Last question before I let you go here. This is kind of a question I like to ask a lot of different people, but you are at this point kind of synonymous with Husker football. When a lot of people think of Husker football, sometimes they're going to think of you, and that's just because of how much work you've put in your post-playing career. So I got to ask you this question. Do you like where Nebraska football is heading under Matt Rule?
I do. Yes, I do. It was, and I know, don't bring up Scott Frost. But like, I'll never forget after year one with Scott Frost, we started off 0-6. Then the last 6 games, we win 3, and even we lost like in Columbus by like 5 points, and we lost on a last-second field goal on the road, maybe even in overtime. I can't remember, to Iowa. Like, you felt like we were building something going into year 2 under Scott Frost, and all of a sudden we looked worse in year 2 than we did in year 1. And I remember thinking, what the heck? Like, this doesn't feel like it's going the right way, and obviously it never did. I bring that up only because when I look at Nebraska in year 1 under Matt Rule, there were obvious glaring things we needed to work on. Turnovers, throwing the frickin' ball, 1 and 2. We've improved in those areas. For some reason, we've regressed in special teams and running the ball on offense. But for me, when I watch Nebraska, and I'm like, do I feel like we're absolutely getting better? It starts with what I see with stuff in the offseason. I mean, I'll just be blunt. I didn't like a lot of the stuff I saw in the offseason. I actually quit going around the football program for a while. I've never said that before. My wife knew that, but that was about it. I just quit going around it because it was hard to see some certain things. Like what I see in the offseason, I feel good about what I see in the offseason. When you see guys, when you see how they're doing things, when you see the approach, when you sit in on a defensive line meeting and you got a young D lineman who's kind of doinking around, and Hupmaker and Robinson turn around and both like almost in unison tell them to shut the F up and pay attention. Like little things like that, like stick out to me. And when I sit and talk with Rule, he's talking about why he approaches things a certain way. It makes sense. And so to me, it starts with that. And then you watch the play. Like the defense is playing good ball. We've got a guy at quarterback, and let's be honest, quarterback right behind defensive end is the second most important position on the entire football team. That joke will never get old to me. Whether other people find it funny or not, I'm always going to like it. But quarterback's a pretty important position, and we're sitting pretty good right now. You can see that things are getting better and things are progressing. And even the things that have kind of regressed, like special things or teams or things that can be improved. The run game, we saw what we did last year with, in large part, the same coach, the same players. So why couldn't it get back to where it was last year and keep the passing game we've had so far? So I like the way it's going because I feel like what's going on behind the scenes is encouraging. And I feel like what I see on the field, while definitely imperfect, what is imperfect, I feel like can be addressed. The things that needed to be addressed have been addressed, and it's all progressing in the right direction.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you with that, and I think that was completely well said. So before I let you go here, if someone is listening to this that somehow does not know where they can find your stuff, where can all the people find all your content out there, Adam?
Yeah, so my show, The CARRIKER Chronicles, you can find it at CARRIKERChronicles.com. The same place they can find your show. And I know your show is other places as well, but they can find it at CARRIKERChronicles.com. You can also find my show on YouTube. Just type in CARRIKER Chronicles as well.
Awesome. And like I said, thank you for joining me, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I should mention I'm also doing the Adam Carriker show noon to 1 p.m. Central time every day on 93.7 The Ticket at Lincoln as well. So shout that out too.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I have been seeing that, and that's really good stuff.
All right. I appreciate it, Ben.
Awesome. Thank you. So that was Adam Carriker. I want to thank him again for joining me on the BA Coaches Show. Hey, you guys already know we got a big game this week. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to be right here probably on Monday or Tuesday. We're going to start getting back to the early week uploads. We've had some changes in schedule and whatnot, and it was just hard to get done. But I'm going to try and make it happen because I don't like waiting until Wednesday or Thursday putting these out. So we're going to get back to Monday or Tuesday uploads. We got big news coming for the BA Coaches Show. Probably won't happen until after football season, but I'm going to start fulfilling this podcast how I want to do it. So before I let you go, make sure you check out my radio appearances on 1620 The Zone, mornings with Sharp and Hanley. Make sure you go check that out. We have a really good time every single Monday talking Husker football. Go check out my blog on nbnrpodcast.com, Red Zone Reflections. Just put one out. When you guys are seeing this on Thursday, it will have came out on Thursday. Talking about the good, the bad, the ugly. Kind of put it in a little bit more, written down terms and a little bit more to the point. So with that, we're going to wrap this up. Make sure you go to CARRIKERchronicles.com like Adam said. But as freaking always, GBR, and in rule we trust.